The 3rd century Anno Domini was basically the ancient world's dumpster fire. Rome kicked things off by having Emperor Severus Alexander assassinated because stability is overrated. What followed? Economic collapse, civil wars, barbarians crashing the party, and a brief empire split into the Gallic and Palmyrene empires. Because why have one crisis when you can have 3? Somehow, thanks to Aurelian's aggressive reconquest and Diocletian's love of bureaucracy, Rome limped into late antiquity, while North Africa quietly converted to Christianity like nothing happened. Meanwhile, everyone else was joining the Fight Club. Persia ditched the Parthians for the Sassanians, Africa's Aksumite Empire got so powerful and rich, and China broke into 3 kingdoms after Red Cliffs, only to eventually be reunited under the Jin. Korea, Japan, Southeast Asia, India, and even the Americas were all having their own chaotic glow-ups, from tomb-building obsessions to cultural shakeups, proving that the 3rd century was a global hold-my-beer moment. We love to imagine Rome as an eternal gigachat of history, legions, discipline, order, but reality, between 235 and 284, Rome was one bad day away from becoming the worst role model ever. Here's a crisis of the 3rd century, aka how to speedrun your own collapse even before GTA 6 coming out. You folks waiting for it as hell like me, right? Let's start with the Sassanid emperors, who looked at the budget and said, what if we doubled the army and raised their payments? Genius. There was actually no money, so they did what any responsible government does. They ruined the currency. Silver coins became mostly vibes. Inflation exploded, savings vanished, and suddenly the army, not the Senate, was picking emperors like it was a Tinder swipe. Then came 259, when Emperor Valerian went to fight Persia and accidentally unlocked the achievement, first Roman emperor ever captured. Yes, captured, alive, by the Persians. At this point, the gods weren't just angry, they had fully unsubscribed the Rome's channel to subscribe the historical damage instead. With Rome embarrassed beyond recovery, the empire didn't decline, it shattered. The West said, we're the Gallic Empire now. And the East said, actually Queen Zenobia runs things from today here. And Rome sat in the middle, pretending this was a temporary situation. Eventually, Aurelian showed up like the Undertaker and beat everyone back into one empire through pure violence and spite, and the damage was done. So, Diocletian came up and took one look at the mess and said, yes, seems like one emperor isn't enough for the entire empire anymore. Solution: split the empire in half, east and west with multiple emperors. It actually worked, with fewer mental breakdowns. Rome didn't survive because it was invincible. It survived because it hit rock bottom, screamed internally, and reinvented itself. Turns out, even the greatest empire in history can't survive without a hard reset. Today's lesson: restarting your computer fixes over 90% of your problems. Persia had just hit restart and came back stronger superpower before Islam showed up and changed everything. This wasn't a slow, peaceful transition. This was Ardashir I, a local vassal king, waking up one morning and thinking, what if I just overthrow the entire empire? And somehow it worked. The Parthians were already falling apart. Civil wars, rival kings, zero coordination. While they were busy arguing over who gets the fancy crown, Ardashir started conquering neighbors, demanding loyalty and openly daring the Parthian king to stop him. So, the last Parthian king, Artabanus IV, showed up personally at the Battle of Hormozgan, ready to end rebellion once and for all. Instead, Ardashir, who had already fortified his position and secured water, won decisively. Ardashir crowned himself Shahanshah, the king of kings, in Ctesiphon, and built a centralized, hyper-militarized empire that would become Rome's new favorite nightmare. Oh, and remember when I said Emperor Valerian got captured? That was Chopper I, the Sassanid emperor, collecting that achievement back. First Roman emperor ever captured prisoner. Persia followed the restart rules and had just hit it and came back stronger. China and the Three Kingdoms period. In 189, the Han government rage quit. They ghosted their own empire, leaving the keys in the ignition for a pack of bloodthirsty warlords. On paper, the empire still ruled, but in reality, he had as much authority as no smoking sign in a forest fire. Hope flickered until 208. Cao Cao, which was a warlord, marched into the Battle of Red Cliffs with a massive army and an ego that could be seen from space. Then, fire and bad timing turned his billion-dollar fleet into the world's largest floating hibachi grill. Unity didn't just burn, it was served well done. By 220, the Han Dynasty finally bit the dust after 4 centuries. Emperor Xian handed over the seals like a retail worker clocking out of a double shift. China fractured into 3 rivals: Wei, Shu, and Wu. The Three Kingdoms era was a mush pit. The country replaced governance with a perpetual 3-way knife fight. Wei rose fastest. Son of Cao Cao, Cao Pi was a disciplined nerd who spent decades grinding his way to the top. In 263, they finally crushed Shu. Mission accomplished? Kind of. Winning is just a kick-me sign for ambitious subordinates. After that, the Sima clan, who had been lurking in a corner like creepy Victorian ghosts taking notes, stepped forward. They fired the bus and rebranded the company as the Jin Dynasty. By 200 AD, Jin finally swallowed Wu. China was reunited, a hollow, blood-soaked graveyard where the survivors were too tired to remember their own names. Jin popped the champagne and declared the crisis over, while standing on a pile of 30 million corpses. Elsewhere in the world, history kept multitasking. Korea decided that one kingdom simply wasn't enough and ran with 3 at the same time, while Japan entered the Kofun period and became deeply committed to building massive burial mounds, because nothing says power like an enormous tomb. On the Southeast Asian mainland, Funan rose as the dominant force, casually becoming the first Khmer kingdom while everyone else was still figuring things out. Over in India, the Gupta Empire was quietly warming up toward greatness near the end of the century, clearly choosing patience over chaos. Welcome to Historical Damage. A mess, but actually entertaining.